Welcome to our 100th episode of Cantina Chronicles. This is our Pillars of Star Wars episode. This episode lists and explains what these pillars are. Join us for our discussion of the foundational elements that all Star Wars stories require to capture that signature Star Wars feeling. Let's go. Welcome to Cantina Chronicles. This is a weekly Cantina crawl across the Star Wars galaxy where we have delightful discourse about all things Star Wars, including news, notes, and theory, synthesizing all media. We contextualize your canon. We are your landing pad for all things Star Wars. Grab a seat right next to us in this cantina today because you are sitting with Grant, Adam, and myself at their 100th recording of the Cantina Chronicles. Mm-hmm. And if you include our time with Core World News, our 400th episode, spanning 7 years.
7 years. Yeah.
I mean, happy.
And what a 7 years it's been.
Yeah. You know, nothing really big happened in those 7 years.
Nope. Everything was perfectly normal. There was no global pandemic. We didn't have, democracy has been fine the entire time. No risks to that at all.
No Phantom Menace undermining democracy while we've been doing this.
Except it would be with dumb Palpatine.
Really, just the world really paralleling the globalism of Star Wars just the whole time. It was quite a trip.
I think we said Sigrona Tima last week, but this is a true Sigrona Tima 100th episode.
Sigrona Tima
couldn't have done it with better hosts. Thank you guys. This has been an incredible time to discuss Star Wars. And when there's no Star Wars to watch and nothing to read, I have you guys to talk about it with. It helps me because I'm a huge fan, love it, and I don't know what I'd do without an outlet like this. So thank you.
No, it's true, and I have completely disconnected from any other Star Wars podcasts, and there's some I like that were not bad, but I didn't want those in my ear when I'm thinking about Star Wars. So I feel like these 7 years have really made me kind of zero in where I am as a fan and appreciate it where I'm coming from, and also the diversity of views. I think that what is why us three talk a lot to each other is we're different cogs of the machine, right? Like we're all have different things going on, which I appreciate, and I think that makes it interesting for us at least.
Yeah, we're blessed to be able to just chat with each other and have differing points of view, but still be on the same baseline of just sort of like Star Wars is fun. Star Wars is for kids. It's a delightful galaxy that we love to just dunk our minds into and just explore the space and explore the world that keeps being created.
We are a proof of concept that the fan base can enter a state of civility if it so chooses.
Yeah.
Because we all have differing points of view, but we all accept one of those points of view, and we've changed each other's minds. Ben has changed my mind. Adam, you've changed my mind on so many different
You guys have changed my mind. Yep.
I would, you talk about other podcasts. I have been dipping into a couple for, I've been looking for interviews. I'm jealous of any podcast that gets interviews with Star Wars creators. We've had a couple, and we've been fortunate with that. But This Is Lit with Meg Dowell is an excellent podcast.
Yes.
It's just novels. And books, not just, but it focuses on that, and she's fantastic, and the interviews are great.
I've actually listened to that quite a bit. As much as I don't listen to Star Wars, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't feel the same as in what I was listening to. This just feels like great content in terms of just like you said, hearing the voices of these authors who I feel just
Ireland,
never hear from. It's
Claudia
just great.
Gray. Yeah.
I want to say two quick things. One thing I know I was joking about everything that's happened the last 7 years, but I also think that's why this podcast is last 7 years, right? It's an escape, right? Because I'm talking to my wife about this. I'm like, there's a guaranteed 2 to 3 hours every week where I don't have to think about anything but Star Wars. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm so lucky to be able to do that.
And for our health.
And hopefully we're bringing that energy to all of you. We have a mission today, though. This isn't going to be a flashback episode. Nope. While we were Core World News, we would do entire episodes devoted to what we call the pillars of Star Wars. And, when this started 7 years ago, we were looking down the barrel of a lot of new content that was being developed, and we've seen a lot, and we should probably talk about that.
Yeah.
And so the idea was like, okay, you're making a new Star Wars. I mean, Charmin, whoever. Back then it was like Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. Like you're making a new Star Wars. What are the things that need to be in it to make it a Star Wars?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of funny in hindsight that we were kind of paranoid enough about that we felt like we needed to put these down and etch these in stone, so to speak. But because
we were rewatching all the films, we were talking a lot about Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, and I think we after talking about The Hero's Journey and the monomyth, we wanted to sort of distill the foundational blocks of a Star Wars story. Yeah. And Disney was even branding a lot of the movies, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And what is a Star Wars story? What does it have to have? What are those, tenets that we're looking for in the Star Wars? And Ben, you've made a wonderful list of of that stuff. And we all worked on it together, but you really brought it back from somehow the list returned.
And we're looking at the Force ghost of the list. I was going to say, the other thing that's helped me with this is it's always in the back of my mind when I'm watching Star Wars, because what this list has helped me do is when something feels off to me, like I'm not connecting with something, sometimes I have a difficulty of like getting to that level. I'm not like you, Grant, where you can like just hit the nail on the head. Like, this is why it's not working for me. I just know when something's working or not working for me. And it takes me a while to get there. And with Star Wars, I've literally sometimes in my mind gone down the list and been like, oh, that seems light or slight or missing from this, and that's why I'm not connecting to it. So I've really found it helpful in my own kind of criticism of Star Wars.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird resource, and we do refer back to it. And I think a lot of times it's sort of a different take on I'm like, oh, that's a pillar, but they did it in a totally new way.
Yeah.
And so we're going to list them, and then we're going to go through them and just talk briefly about them. On Core World News, we would spend like an hour and a half, 2.5 hours talking about it.
I think we broke the list. We did an episode about breaking the list together, and that took a long time. I don't know, probably like a 4-hour episode.
Yeah.
So now we can, in the future, we can just be like, go listen to Cantina Chronicles episode 100, and you'll have a reference point for this. So if you're one of those people that have heard this in a future podcast and are now back here, welcome. We're now about to get to the list. All right. So I'm just going to list them right now, and then we'll go through them. And these are actually spent the time to rank these because we wanted to distill it. It had blown up to about 15 things. We got it down to a tight 7.
Yep.
And 7 pillars. It's a great number, and it'll work. So here we go. Number 1, The Hero's Journey. Number 2, The Force. Number 3, Ensemble Cast. Number 4, Wars in the Stars. Number 5, Galactic Diversity. Get open wide for some Galactic Diversity. 6, Master and Apprentice, Legacy and Family. That's one thing. And then 7, Honor What Came Before, Presage What Comes After, and Always Expand. And those are your 7 pillars. And I'm proud of these. I think they cover the things.
Yeah, I agree. I think boiling it down to these 7, it feels right to me. I mean, we, a little behind the scenes, we spent quite a bit of time before doing this kind of, Ben did the kind of upfront work of really getting these down, doing some editing, and the 3 of us kind of even edited further. And I think we're kind of all in agreement about these. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's start at the top with The Hero's Journey, the most important pillar of Star Wars.
Yeah. Yep. You've got to have it. It's got to be there.
Yeah. So this is Joseph Campbell's novel, A Hero's Journey. Yeah, I remember.
And if you think about The Hero's Journey, it kind of covers all those bullet points.
Yeah.
In the understanding of what the hero's journey is. It's you've got the hero, you've got mentors, you got allies and enemies, you got lots of stuff that
into the unknown
already. Yeah.
Into the unknown, there's magic involved. Yeah, all this stuff. Yeah. And if you haven't read the Joseph Campbell book, it's worth a read. Like, it really does open your eyes to a lot of things, because it's not just Star Wars that does this, but I think Lucas was one of the first people to, in many ways, like really directly read this and use this in his writing. And a lot of other people did it just subconsciously, I feel like. And so it does, like, it is a fun book to read, because like literally in the margins, I have things like, oh, this guy's like totally Jar Jar. Like, I'll make notes about like these different myths that he was borrowing from. Like, oh, there's Jar Jar. Yeah.
Yeah. You can. So, I mean, this is one of my first memories, but I remember my dad being like, he's like, oh, if you like Star Wars, my dad's a super nerd, right? He's like, you should read Joseph Campbell's Hero of a Thousand Faces. I heard that my whole childhood. And I'm like, no, And I think actually I tried, but I was like too young and I didn't really get it to like comprehend, because it's a nutty book. It is. It's a cross-reference of all of the cultures and like myths and stories that he could gather across religions and cultures across the whole globe.
Yep.
And then it's not just that. It's like, so he superimposes them over each other to look at themes, but then he cross-references them with dreams. And the back half of the book is a lot of dream
all
work.
Freud and all Freud. That's where that book, I mean, I completely lose me. Jungian and Freudian stuff at the end. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing piece of work. It's very, I don't want to say this as a negative. It's a very academic book. Like you read it, it is really well researched and put together and eye-opening in that way.
Yeah, going from like, Sumerian myth to, Native American myth and story. It's
Christianity,
it's really
even.
beautiful stuff. Yeah, obviously Christianity in there and the Abrahamic religions and things like that. But he cross references it all, and it's actually pretty impressive. And it's actually a pretty digestible read now. I think, right? Like I really like his writing style and how entertaining it is when he brings up a new story. He almost brings up a new story almost every paragraph. Which is fascinating.
Yeah, because he's sort of telling these parables as you go along. So it's really kind of fun. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've never, just Google Hero's Journey or the what is it called, the something cycle. But I mean, if you Google Hero's Journey, you'll see like infographics and stuff, and then just think about any Star Wars and then look at that and be like, oh yeah. It's a fun exercise to do if you're a Star Wars fan.
It really is almost every Star Wars story. I mean, if you look at Andor all the way from the first movie to Andor, it's like I always think about the refusal of the call, right? Which is one of the first things. Yeah. Like the hero is reluctant and doesn't want to go. And that's true of like almost everything. Like even in Andor, you get like that. And it's not right at the beginning when he's a kid, but like he's refusing the call to be part of the rebellion, right? That's a big part of that.
If you're interested in storytelling, or you want to write, or you're into film, or you're into literature, I mean, everything's the hero's journey. And first, definitely check out Aristotle and the invention of the 3-act structure. But then, eventually get to the hero's journey. It's very important if you want to tell stories. The call to adventure and the initiation and the return and all that stuff. It's in every movie. It's in every story. It's hugely important if you want to be a storyteller yourself.
Yeah, darn right. All right, let's move on. Number 2, the Force. And this is unique to the Star Wars galaxy and universe of, whatever, of storytelling. And I mean, it's just unique across anything. No one can steal, it's often homaged, but it's not, no one's ever had. It's like you either have superpowers or you have the Force, and no one else is allowed to have the Force in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's the magic of this sort of space fantasy, right? And without it, it's not space fantasy, right? It's just a sci-fi movie or a space set, adventure set in space.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like these ingredients or pillars are not equally represented in everything, but they're at least there. And I always think of like something like Solo, right? Solo is one where there is Force stuff in there, but not a ton, right? It's very focused on Solo, but you can't get through that movie without seeing a lightsaber, right? Maybe to its detriment, but like you get like the person behind everything is a Force user, right? You get Darth Maul at the end there.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything where like there has to be more or anything, but it has to be in it. And I think, like for Solo, it's like Han Solo is just like, I think of like a paper ship in a river of the Force that's just getting shoved along and just dumbs his way into the most important situations ever. I read a meme the other day where it was like, on the Death Star in A New Hope, Darth Vader was on the Death Star like within like spitting distance of his mentor, his 2 kids, the droid he built when he was a child, the droid that like saved his life in Naboo, and then this other guy.
Who's this guy in the freaking vest?
Some random just space dude.
Yeah. Like that's why in Empire there's the whole dinner scene, because I think what needed to happen in a mythic sense was Vader needed to stop and capture Han Solo, because this guy had sort of disrupted his entire existence via, like you said, like a sort of ebb and flow of the Force. Yeah,
like a half an hour later, he's shooting Darth Vader in the butt and sending him off into the darkness of space.
Yeah. It's this random. And I kind of love that Will the Force character, right? It's in some ways it's my favorite character, and like Andor is kind of a perfect example of that, where season 1, it's very devoid of the Force, right? It's there, it's mentioned, but it's not really part of it. And I was kind of going, oh, that's odd. But then we watched season 2. The whole thesis of Andor is like, he is the will of the Force. Like this person's entire life is the will of the Force to be able to
always
Force healer stuff.
Why is it always you?
And I mean, you could even start that argument even earlier, because in season 1, Luthen gives him the Sky Kyber crystal, and it's like, we know Kyber crystals are deeply connected to the Force and the Jedi, and so there's even evidence of the Force in that show earlier than that, the Force healer stuff. But we were arguing about this quite a bit in the beginning, debating it before we hit record, and I was saying, there's shows like Resistance does not have the Force. We were trying to think. I'm sure there's probably an episode in there that has the Force, and some fans like, wait, what about episode 13? It had the Force, but I just don't remember it.
Please,
and then
you have to email us though.
Please email us, Cantina Chronicles, right? At
Gmail. Gmail.
And I think that's valid. And part of what we talked about off air is like, I think part of that, I mean, to be honest, not to go hard at that show served a purpose, but there's something didn't feel right in that show to me. And I think when I looked at it, I'm like, the Force just isn't there. And not even talking about it, right? I don't think any of the characters are interested in a while, Jedi. So it could be. Yeah. So don't, definitely check my math on that. But it's interesting. And I feel like the other reason is because of where it's set, and set between 8 and 9, there can't be much Force use in it, because it was very focused on who had the Force, who didn't, and what the Force was doing at that time. But
well, I mean, what about there's this, and then the next bullet point, I'd like to bring up a newly announced movie that I think may not have either of those things. So let's get to the next bullet point after the Force, and that'll
be a good discussion.
Okay. So number 3, this is pillar number 3, Ensemble Cast.
Yes.
Grant.
All right. So Ensemble Cast is definitely true for everything we've had, everything that's released thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say The Mandalorian. It might. No, it's got an ensemble.
It's building the ensemble.
It builds into an ensemble.
First season is building the ensemble.
Building the ensemble. It is kind of a lone wolf and cub, but at the same time, there's you got Grief Karga, you got Migs Mayfield, you got Cara Dune, you got
Boba Fett,
Bo-Katan, So it builds sure.
But even like I was joking about Boba Fett, but even in Book of Boba Fett, even in the Book of Boba Fett, right? He's building an ensemble on that, right? Because they got Fennec Shan and you get Black Santan, like you're still getting like.
This is my favorite film. I mean, my favorite element of movies. This is just like my favorite part of Star Wars, because it's my favorite part of movies. And I think it started with Seven Samurai. Was really like the first ensemble cast where it's like you put together this ragtag team with different resources or whatever, and they go on an adventure, right? And then like how many hundreds or thousands of movies have been made with that since? And not all are, but those are kind of my favorite. And they're usually corny action movies, but I adore them. And I mean, so the other one would be Wizard of Oz, right?
Right.
Is the other like
it's a classic. I mean, it's
ensemble cast.
Yeah, that's the whole entire movie.
For example, go ahead.
No, another thing I think is interesting is this often lends itself to you build the ensemble first, obviously, and then you interrupt it, right? Like that's where Lando comes in. Like Lando's suddenly coming in, which is a great character, and like we don't have to go into the whole debate, but that's what Rose Tico is supposed to serve in episode 8, right? Like a person comes into the ensemble and disrupts it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And they're like, oh my gosh, as fans, we're like, we need to bring the ensemble back together. We got to bring the team back together.
Oh, I always thought Rose was just a part of the ensemble. I never thought she was a disruptor.
I think she starts at. I mean, she literally tases one of our ensemble cast members, right?
Drags him,
drags him out. But that becomes part. Usually, what happens is that character becomes part of it. Lando is part of the ensemble by episode 6, right? And Rose is part of the ensemble by the end of episode 8, right? Yeah. The weird thing is, I'm not gonna. Let's not. I was going to break down how weird it is that it's part of the ensemble and the sequel trilogy don't actually meet each other until the very end of the second movie. Yeah, but we don't have to.
You don't want to get me. You don't want to get me going.
We're gonna lose an hour if I even start breaking that down.
Grant, you were going to say a few.
Okay, yeah. So we have Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter coming up.
Yeah.
I can't help but think about Blade Runner 2049 when you mentioned Ryan Gosling, and that movie's a deeply solitary
Yes.
Movie, right? Where he leads the movie. It's a lot of just him. There's no ensemble. He can carry a movie without an ensemble.
He definitely can. Yep.
That said, there's no chance there's not some sort of like squadron, other pilots with him. So we'll probably get an ensemble, but will there be the Force in that movie? That's why I wanted to move past the Force, get to ensemble, because this movie actually has the potential to not have either of those things if it so chooses, but he's going to have, I think he's going to have Red 1, Red 2, Red 3. He's going to have wingmates, right? Like it's just, that's probably going to happen.
Even if he's like a lone wolf type of guy.
But there's a formula for him to carry something without that either. So
no, I agree. I think these are the two question marks in that movie. Of all the other pillars are definitely going to be there. I think part of it is, I think they do want the Force and everything. I think also, right, we know this is taking place post episode 9, right? It's going to be our first post episode 9 film. I think it would be weird not to at least have a discussion / mention of the Force, right? Like, I don't know how prominent it's going to be, but like, it's going to be weird to be post that era and not have a mention of Rey or a Force Academy or the Jedi Academy or something, right? So I don't know. I could also see him coming up against a Force user, right? Like, I think that's always a story that tells good,
I was just thinking that, I mean, we had like, I think talked something about like the Exegol people flee and there's Darksiders all over the galaxy. And that could be
darker than ever, right? These are like Sith cultists, essentially. They're not the remnants of the Empire anymore. They're the remnants of like dark sorcery. It could be like, and you're getting Mia Goth. Like, why not have it? Why not go full dark?
I totally forgot Mia Goth's in that film. Yeah, she's a Force user. Come on, Mia Goth. You gotta get some Force lightning coming out of her hands. Like, come on.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect for that.
The Emperor's hand.
Emperor's hand.
So that, oh goodness. All right, so there's a ensemble cast that's important. I don't want to get too much into, we don't want to date this thing too hard.
No.
But it'll be interesting if we're totally correct, which we usually are.
Yep.
All right, pillar number 4, Wars in the Stars, which is one of my faves because it's funny, and it's a play on words, and it's true.
It's very true. Yeah,
you got to have war. Like war has to break out.
We
say Wars in the Stars, but Attack of the Clones, Battle of Petronaki Arena, Battle of Geonosis, on the ground, the surface battle, that counts essentially. We say War in the Stars, but just it has to have some sort of a war. Except for I would.
Good.
I think sometimes there are skirmishes. There's not always full blown wars happening, but we just count skirmishes into that essentially.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can't remember the name of the planet, right? Gorman had a revolution, right? Like, is it a war? Well, no, but it's a revolution, and that's war adjacent.
Yeah, and you could feel the war bubbling up, right? And I feel like that part of it is that even if it's not active battles, it is there, right? It is part of the underground. Like, you can even look at something like Solo, right? There's not a ton in there, but literally we see him on a battlefield, like part of the empire, right?
Fighting there's that whole Mimban scene. The
Mimban, like it's there, and I feel like it's everything else more or less it's there. Even think about
love that movie so much.
So good.
That scene is so good.
Everyone's
the intro's a little strange, but just everything else on Mimban is great. I like the Chewie stuff too. What am I talking about? It's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, to watch someone try to speak Sherwook is like one of my favorites.
That movie's incredibly
good. You're sleeping on it. But I was gonna say, even like one of the ones that this may be hardest to connect to in some ways is The Mandalorian, right? Like first season of The Mandalorian, not a ton, but still, it's like post-war, right? Like you're still feeling the impact of war.
Right. You're interacting with warlords.
Boba Fett.
You're fighting off warlords. You're having a war with pirates, and then ultimately you're battling to retake your planet.
Right. It gets to the whole Mandalorian arc, but the Mandalore arc, which
a lot of war's part of it. There's not really a peacetime. There's not really a peacetime.
A lot of fans did bump up against that third season. I talked to a lot of people about this show, and like, given that it's almost a sure bet that they've watched it, and because it's kind of the flagship Star Wars show on Disney Plus, and if you own Disney Plus, you've probably seen The Mandalorian.
Sure.
And that season 3, a lot of people bump up against it, and I think it is because it just broadens out in scope in such a crazy way, and sort of does just turn into almost like a theatrical Star Wars. And I think people really like those sort of like more personal adventures.
Yeah,
with just Grogu and Mando, and it's sort of a structure shift in that season.
Yeah, it is very much. I definitely bumped up against that season when it first came out. I think as I've revisited it, it goes down easier, and I see what they're doing. It just is what this shouldn't be called should be called the Mandalorians now. But anyway,
add an S. Yeah.
I totally see what you're saying, and I definitely prefer the flavor of sort of just the lone wolf and cub adventures, where you're just like the ground, and he's hand talking to Tusken Raiders and that sort of thing. But it's like I don't know, I just enjoyed. I was like, oh, they're doing something different now, and it's like it's opening up, and there was a lot of momentum to it, and that was
and it brings it back to pillar number one, the hero's journey, right? Like we're getting his hero's journey over multiple seasons, where he starts out as just this lone wolf, and by the end he's now connected completely to the galactic events, right? And I think that's kind of a neat way to do it.
Yeah, and he was a no join guy, and I mean, you could even say it's like he finally accepted the call now that he's joining the rebellion, the Republic, Republic, and we'll see where that goes. All right. Pillar number 5, this is going to get some people really giggly. Galactic Diversity, which is, we're calling this an umbrella category, like title, because within it, alien worlds, alien landscapes, droids, monsters. Droids are essential. Monsters are essential. Alien worlds. I like a lived-in world. That they're, I think I would put that caveat on it, that it's like, it's a place where people live and are existing, but it is alien and it is these things, but it's not a highly polished sci-fi adventure.
Sure.
You could see this. Part of what I think about when I see this category is the cantina scene in episode 4, right? And how much that impact, and still referenced, and as kids talking about it in the 80s, 90s, like that's still a formative moment. And I still remember seeing that movie and the door opening up and seeing all these aliens in this strange setting and a strange world, right? And like that's
strange jazz music.
Yeah, strange jazz music.
Yeah.
Like that is what Star Wars is, right? Is it's supposed to kind of awaken you to all of the different types of beings and experiences and settings that are out there in the galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a great sort of blanket title for what we're talking about, which is alien worlds, aliens, different biomes, different new construction, old construction, slums, palaces, like we talked about, like everything, all the different cultures and architecture of the
primitive, technologically
advanced. Everything. So it's perfect because I think it covers all the bases.
And I kind of want to point out Andor season 1, which is like one of the best seasons of television ever. But one of the things that we kept bumping up against and talking about was the relative lack of aliens. They were there, but they're in the background. And it's so much so that he was aware of it. I mean, Tony Gilroy is aware of it and addressed it in season 2, right? And that just kind of demonstrates the importance of this idea of diversity of species. Yeah.
Of all the we're totally picking nits with Andor, but that was one of the ones that was like, I actually talked to one of my friends the other day that I hadn't seen in a minute, and I was like, you loved that, right? And he was just like, he's like, man, like, why weren't there more aliens? Like, he was kind of broken up about it.
Yeah.
It's like one of his favorite things. It's Matt Savage, by the way.
It's almost totally Matt Savage take. Yeah. Which I agree with. I don't disagree, but yeah.
He's like, and why can't you eat the aliens?
It's funny. Andor is a sort of like, it would be a 10 out of 10 no notes for me, but like it is a sort of 9.8 out of 10 for me, because I almost think like it still is missing a little bit of alien commentary. Like I almost think like the rebellion is built with the help of the Mon Cala and other cultures, and it's I almost wish Tony did investigate that, because that's another huge difference between the rebellion and the empire, and it's a really beautiful message today in our time, the times we're living in right now. It's actually a perfect prescient thing to do, and I know he didn't have the forethought that this was all we were going to live in it's almost a police state, but it's,
or if he'd even do it if he knew. But no, write that down. That's a great comment. So when we interview Tony, you can bring that up.
I would love to bring it up, because I feel like it's the one thing that I think is almost like could have been a 3-episode thing, and it could have been like, hey, we have Mon Cala cruisers and we can hold our own, and it's beautiful, and it draws a tear from your eye.
And talk about like, because I think so. My answer to Matt Savage was, I'm like, I really think there actually is racist undertones that are just implied with or speciest with the Empire, and they're just totally pushing other species to the periphery. But it's like, talk about that. Don't just I think
it's a huge talking point. I think it's a huge talking point.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go on to, so that's galactic diversity. And yes, absolutely, you need droids. Like, this is where the word droid was invented. So that's fantastic. But, and then, so we're going to go on to pillar number 6. And this one, again, is kind of 2 that got smushed together, but it's a master and apprentice, legacy, and family.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was, I think these are important. Like, now we're like getting into more of the nuance. It's like, but you also need this. And it's like, there is always a master and apprentice, dating back to, Obi-Wan and Luke. And there's different incarnations of that. Sorry about that. But that, and then also legacy and family.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. I would boil this down further to mentorship, but we did debate this quite a bit, and we did leave it at master and apprentice, legacy and family. I would almost do mentorship, and then I think modern fans are pushing back against the legacy and family stuff, and they would like to see new characters without family or finding families, and the things. And there's a lot of new films that are coming out that are a lot about found family and not about legacy and sort of heritage, and it's interesting. It's very interesting to me to see where modern perspectives are when it comes to family, especially, and like,
how many
lineage,
more orphans we have to see, right? Like, I mean, I think a lot of the message is just like, it's the family that you find, but that's great, but it's just like, you can't make every main character an orphan.
Well, it's so funny because it's so funny you say that, because ironically, there's almost zero pushback against the orphan and found family stories.
There's only
pushback against the lineage, like the tried and true family names to keep going. That's where fans are sort of getting bored. They're getting bored of that conceit, and
like the Skywalker family name.
Yeah, especially the Skywalker family. Palpatine. They don't want any of that to ever happen again. Which is, but again, this isn't me per se. I actually like origin stories, and I like lineage in storytelling. I think it's actually wildly interesting if you can make it interesting. But if it's just done for the sake of doing it, that's definitely gonna upset people.
Yeah. Let me make an argument for this. So in terms of family, like I find that that's somewhat redundant to number 3 in a lot of ways. Like an ensemble, if you have an ensemble cast, you're going to have a family story. Like, they're going to develop a family or relationships. So I don't know if this means technically like, blood families. You guys were talking about a found family or whatever have you.
It's found legacy. It's just generic family.
Legacy, I would say, is different than lineage, right? Where lineage is stuff I think people are getting sick of, is like you were saying, Skywalker and Palpatines and all this. Legacy, to me, is a larger idea of, there's a legacy of the Jedi, right? There's a legacy of the Rebellion. There's a legacy of the Empire, right? And that stuff needs to be traced throughout the Republic, right? It needs to be.
It almost could replace our 7, which is funny. Like, that one word could be our 7.
In some ways, but I think there's a little more to that, but we'll get there. And Grant, I wholeheartedly agree with you that you could absolutely replace Master and Apprentice with mentorship. I just like the titling Master and Apprentice because of the Star Wars term. Like, but I think that sounds awesome. We're nitpicking here a little bit, where I think they kind of mean the same thing, but I hear where you're coming from. But
Tobias Beckett and Han Solo, I argued, is not super Master and Apprentice feeling. It's more of like, because Han's sort of a reluctant. He's a reluctant.
Semantics.
No, you're right. It's 100% semantics, but I would say Han is literally reluctant to take any teachings from Tobias Beckett, and but then you find out does learn a couple things.
I mean, I would argue Luthen Rail and Cassian Andor, but it's like that's almost not true at all. But still,
it's almost like Cassian wants to go against the grain when it comes to Luthen and his decision making, but at the same time he has deep respect for Luthen, so it's like
where does Master and Apprentice fall in Book of Boba Fett? Is that Boba Fett and Fennec Shan? Is that what we say?
No, they're compatriots.
It's kind of absent,
right?
No. The Tusken Raiders to Boba Fett. They're the ones that
it's the mods in Boba or something. Isn't Boba sort of the master, and he's teaching a lot of people on those stuff?
Here's my argument.
It is the Tuskens.
It is Tuskens.
Tusken chieftain. Yeah.
It's for one episode in that. right, for sure. Part of me is now realizing 2 episodes. Oh yeah.
Is the third one's the train episode, right?
I don't know. I haven't watched that.
I think it is. I think he gets captured, then he's captured, then they do the train, then he's like,
right. That show's wild. But part of me is like, I don't know if that is why that show works less for me than other shows, right? Like if that's feeling a little missing from me. But what I'll say, Ben, is by looking at it as he being the apprentice and the Tuscans being the masters is really, really interesting to me in terms of that'll give me a different viewpoint. I mean, I saw it, but I didn't really connect it to this idea of master and apprentice. So I'm looking forward to rewatching it for that reason, right? It gives me a different perspective on it.
Yeah. He does the like ayahuasca. He goes to the sacred tree, carves his own
black melon.
Black melon. Thank you. Is what's it called?
A ray.
Stick? No, it's
sand beast.
What's the fighting implement called? The gaffy stick.
Yeah, the gaffy stick.
Thank you.
Spent a lot of time on Tatooine in my in a Star Wars Galaxy, so picked up a lot of gaffy sticks.
Yeah, who does? I mean, that's all part of his. That's his been building his lightsaber, right? It's a cudgel.
Very true.
So very cool. So yeah, that's definitely part of it, and I think it's just integral. It just is. You know, there's someone learning about the larger world, and it's a galaxy, and it's almost infinitely huge, and so everyone needs someone to help bring them along, and that's part of Star Wars.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, 7th and final pillar, and I really like this one too, but it belongs at the end for lots of reasons. But it's honor what came before, presage what comes after, and always expand. And I mean, this links in with legacy, right? Sort of. Yeah. That's honoring. Okay, this is the legacy of of the Republic, and we know what the Republic was, so we know what it will be. This is all our discussions about the new Republic, or the Free Republic, as we're calling it. Feel free to steal that, Lucasfilm. We know it has to be different because we know they're going to build on what we've seen in the High Republic and what we've seen as the main Republic, as the Empire, the New Republic, like all these other failed republics. They're going to try and do something different.
Yeah, and I think what is important with this pillar is not to be so beholden to it, right? That you're honoring that term honoring is really, really important, because it just means you're acknowledging it, you're seeing it, you're connecting it to your story, but you're not being like, it has to be the exact same thing again, right? That there's a connection. I will argue, and as a person who enjoys the sequel trilogy, and I do enjoy the sequel trilogy, I think this is where the sequel trilogy is perhaps missing or lowest on, where I don't think it's necessarily honoring what's coming before. It's like trying to just do it again. And I don't know if
while also jettisoning it, which is fascinating. It's jettisoning and trying to do it again, which is amazing.
I know it's wild, incredible. It's such a wild trilogy. I don't know if it's presaging what comes after, because it just seems to be stuck so much in that legacy. And I would argue it's not expanding. And Episode 9 decides to contract, right, by making Rey a Palpatine. Like, that's my biggest critique of the sequel trilogy. Which I will happily watch those movies.
Adam, I'll have you know, Palpatine was always going to return. They had a plan.
That's why it's completely mentioned and talked about and woven into all 3 films.
Did you see her fighting style in Force Awakens? She's
definitely she's clearly using actually
the old Sheev stab. Everyone knows the Sheev stab move.
Yeah,
she did the Sheev stab.
Yeah,
that was in her
definitely
blood.
Genetic. Told Ryan Johnson about that.
Totally genetic. That's exactly
the Sheev stab. That's kind of funny, but I think this is really important, and just to tie everything together. And it's again what makes Star Wars unique is that it's one continuous timeline, and you can fit in, but you can't overlap and you can't change. And that's fun to me.
But you gotta expand. I love that. That's the thing that's so key to this too. Like, you have to build out. You have to. And I think like the Mandalorian's doing a good job of that. You know, we've had our thoughts about Filoni, but Filoni is trying to expand, right? He is trying to expand out past the Skywalkers, very much so.
He's expanding out past the laws of physics and dimensions. He's expanding into like a parallel dimensions, and
quite the expansion.
And like Force users that are wolves, and you're like, okay, all right,
sure,
wild. Which is he's bold. He does bold strokes, and I think that's what George never left anything in his pocket. He's just like, oh, that's a wild idea. Let's go.
We talk a lot. We have our criticisms of the sequel trilogy, but George's midi-chlorian sort of idea was out of control.
Yep.
Yeah. There's like, oh, there's little mini gods that control, and you're like, what? Him like midi-chlorians and mini gods, the wills, and like
disturbing.
Yeah, good times.
Maybe we were saved when you think about it. Maybe what we got was quite good.
I'm just happy that we got what we got.
Yeah,
we know.
No, but honestly, the like nerd in me, the like need to be the administrator nerd, it was because Kathy was like, no more of this like retconning and contradicting. That's over. Like that's I will always love Kathy for that. I was just like,
incredible.
I'm like, we can't have chaos here. Like, let's just put this in one timeline and stick to it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's so impressive what Lucasfilm's been doing too. I mean, just this canon, this timeline is so well thought out and directed in such a beautiful way that there's almost nothing that is. I have almost zero nitpicks with sort of anything that's transpired in the timeline. Nothing's felt out of place.
No, exactly.
And a world between worlds, which you just sort of like tongue-in-cheek talked about there, it's like, yeah, that's a little strange. I wonder how that's going to turn out, but like everything's been going quite well to a point where the galaxy feels like a living place, and it feels beautifully navigated by the team.
No, 100%. And like usually my critiques are kind of like the steps they take in the journey, not the journey itself, right? Like not the destination. Like I'm fine where episode 9 ends. I'm absolutely fine with that. And there's some issues. I'll say about the world between worlds. I don't hate that concept. I kind of like this idea of the Force dimension and that you can kind of look back and see things and you can talk to your old apprentices. What makes me nervous about it is how powerful it is, and if someone's going to use it to do something that makes me really, really, that's going to break it for me, right? Like, do not use this for time travel, like major time travel, please. Like that scares me. Yeah,
you just heard like that's why I'm thanking Kathleen is because she brought us out of chaos into sanity. And the world between worlds like threatens to cause chaos again, which I don't know, maybe that's just for dramatic effect, but it's like, what is stopping anyone from changing periods in history? And if that's the purpose of it, I'm gonna riot.
Yeah, and again,
My Little Pony podcast.
And I hated how many like internet haters talked about that as a device to quote unquote fix things that went bad, right? Quote unquote went bad. But the more I see Filoni and I, have my things I like and don't like, I can't ever imagine him doing that, right? Like I think he is very also true to like, nope, this is the timeline. This is what we're doing. We can backfill, we can do other stuff, but like these are the major road points and we can't change them.
Yeah. I think the one thing that's great about Filoni is like we do read a lot of comics, we read a lot of novels, we just read all of the High Republic, and we're watching everything that Star Wars puts out there, and I do feel like other creators are given some free range to explore and do things, but I think there's also a sort of a dam or a sort of like stopgap gate that just doesn't. I feel like the story group and the creative, possibly Filoni himself, like the sort of creative team who's controlling the sort of canon itself, I think they are thinking a lot about the future, and they're thinking a lot about, if we expand here, like that might cause chaos in a story that we could tell about this, era. And they sort of, they put a lot of roadblocks up for creatives. And so it's extremely refreshing to see Filoni, who has this, encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, sort of just like have this free range to do whatever he wants and sort of break things with the world between worlds and things like that. That's really refreshing for me as a Star Wars fan, because like my dream Star Wars story breaks everything and sort of retells and reforms the mold entirely and sort of discards all this preciousness with the canon, and Filoni's able to do that, and they don't really give that license to everybody. And I think that's a huge problem at the same time. I think a lot of the things I read, it's like, well, nothing really happened here.
Yeah, it's just a character.
The lore
story.
is
it's a
not
story
being
about a character.
rewritten.
No.
It's the lore is just being adhered to.
Yes.
And I don't like adherence. I want to see sort of a George Lucas energy of sort of being, outgoing and trying to really be ambitious with the storytelling in terms of lore. Like I would like the lore to be expanded on in ways that's like the World Between Worlds and like new Force users you've never seen before and really explore huge new things and not be afraid to break things. And I think the biggest disappointment for me in Star Wars storytelling is when something happens and people love it and I'm sitting there being like, well, what actually happened here that's new and interesting?
Yeah,
almost nothing.
Yeah. What's
I walk away being like, nothing's really changed here. And that's sort of something I would like to see change. I would like to see that attitude around that change.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like we're at a point where Lucasfilm is, like you said, very protective and probably overprotective because they saw what happened with the old EU, which is a beautiful mess to read. Like it is so fun to read. But that was George basically said, don't care, do whatever you want. I will cash the checks. Like he really just said that. He just stepped away. He signed everything off. He's like, he did say, to his credit, whatever happens is canon. But I'm not going to sit there and like, yes, no, everything. And that led to some amazing things happening and some crazy events and time traveling Sith and like a clan of Skywalkers. Some fall to the dark side, some die, some come back. Luke gets married, like all these crazy things, which are wild and fun to read. But then by the time I finished that, I'm like, this is just broken. Like it just is completely broken.
Yeah, there still has to be some sort of quality assurance. Like you can't just be
there's a middle ground between these.
There's a middle ground
that I feel like we're missing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, so
like hands off. Like you don't want to be George Lucas, be hands off with things, but at the same time,
let people
want there to be some quality assurance,
do some stuff, and have some. I wasn't here for last.
So tight that nothing happens ever. Where or as frequently as it's happening right now.
I wasn't here last week for the Waysaker discussion, and
nothing happens in that book, but I love it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's my review of almost every Star Wars book now is like great characters, love the writing. Nothing happened, right?
No implications to the overall lore, or like no additive elements to the overarching lore that adds to the context. I'm not going to say changes the context, but just like adds a new context or a new.
As you look at something in a slightly different angle or a different way, right? That doesn't change it, but you have it from there. Like that's the thing. Like I loved a lot of the High Republic, and they were given a little more latitude there because they're so far in the past. But like again.
Nothing really
but it's not. Well, the fact they never really talk about the Sith much at all is still wild to me, and that's a story group thing. Going, nope, can't touch the Sith. We don't know what we're doing with them yet. You cannot talk about.
Or the attachment thing, right? It could have had it could have explained, like we talked about. It could have explained Yoda's wariness about attachment. It could have been like, oh, Elzar and Avar were deeply connected, and Elzar went to the dark side and killed a bunch of people and became almost a Sith essentially, and Jedi had to take him down. It almost destroyed the entire. It almost destroyed the entire order, or something that really is like, wow, attachment is something to look at as and understand that, examine its importance in this sort of monkhood, and if it should exist.
It's interesting they went the exact opposite way with that.
It's funny.
Like, let's validate attachment.
Yeah,
right.
You got Aslan Rel, right? I mean, Aslan Rel kind of is that. Like, he didn't threaten to destroy the order, but he almost ruined the end game.
Sure. Yeah. He was always a problem.
I mean, he's kind of that thing. I'm just, defending for something.
No, I know, but I don't think you need to, because it's just, we're right. It's not there, and it could have been. They flirted with the Sith, but nothing more. It was Aslan Rel, and he became a Sith, and who knows if he's actually going to be, or he was a Darksider. He may become a Sith, but that was like the Jedi employing droids to fight the Nihil, because or to fight the Nameless, right? And then droids becoming a commodity in terms of like armed forces, and that evolving into the battle droids, sort of like recontextualizing things. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't do that. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just not fitting the poetry and the
if they did that, Grant, then they would have destroyed the universe, because the droids just would have wiped out the Nameless, and then they would have been like, why is the universe falling apart? And because it was like like if they had an easy way to kill Nameless, which they do. I mean, we talked about it since the beginning. It's like,
I've been yelling into the void for 3 years now.
I mean, we now know what they were leading up to, which is that like the Nameless were actually
like
part of this
sentient people. They're like a people.
It would have been really horrible if they didn't wipe them all out, and then
if we wiped them all out, then they would be.
Well, then that also changes the that actually is a beautiful way of shaping the context around the droids, in that like the Jedi are adverse to droids because in using them the first time, they caused a huge issue. Like they were damaging to a people that were actually good people, not a good people, just people that matter, a group that matters.
Here's my issue with that: is that I liked how that ended with the Nameless being sentient and being important, and not destroying them is really important. If you destroy them, you destroy the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, no one knew this ever until the last book, so it just makes the Jedi seem real dumb that they didn't get droids or an army to fight this thing. Sure. If they had something along the way of the Jedi going, no, there's something to these things. We cannot kill them. I feel a connection to the Force. Like something to justify why they're not just like doing it.
And I don't even think this is the best example to even bring up.
No,
to me, it's the Sith. Like the Sith in general is the best example. Like it seems like there's this deep fear in exploring the early days of the Sith. They're exploring
any days of the Sith
Jedi Wars and exploring like what the Sith were when they were an empire and how they're called, how they operated, and like it's like no creative is trusted with that narrative, sort of like sort of those elements essentially. Like like no one is trusted with that element
because it's almost like its own parallel history. And
we know nothing about it,
which is super fascinating.
To a pinprick in that history, it reverberates out through the whole legacy as you tell the story. And it's like, all right, so sooner or later, you have to let someone tell that story, start the story, right?
It also seems
and lay down one, bit of history and talk about the Sith wars. Right?
Yes, and
have it all lined up and let the disparate projects give little pieces of it, but like it's like
just
like
the timeline.
A huge roadblock on that, which is crazy to me. I don't get it. Yeah.
The other thing is the rule of two gives you a very easy and elegant way to tell any stories you want, because it's not like you have to talk about this giant force in the galaxy. You're talking about two people, and it's very easy to just kill one of them. And then, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can say, oh, that Sith existed for 3 years. He was a Sith master. They were a Sith master. She was a Sith master for 3 years and died, right? Like, it really allows you to do whatever you want.
And you could tell a totally new story using maybe some of the Bane novels, but like you could explore the advent of the rule of two, but like totally do it entirely new story. You don't have to do Drew Karpyshyn's books, but you can do a new take on it. What's great is that's Legends essentially, so you can basically invent how that happened in a different way that maybe works better with the lore.
I think you're right. Like that has to be the first thing, and then that they adapt, and then you can build out from there. And like that's the thing. It's like the rule of two, and then there was something before it. So you establish that something happened before it. It was like the Sith reign, the Sith Wars, Jedi Sith Wars. Like, okay, that happened in the past, and then rule of two going forward, and then now we're caught up with
how is that not
Rise of Skywalker, and it's different.
It's crazy to me that, like, for me, like the second most interesting era of Star Wars storytelling is the empire that occurred before the Imperial, before the Galactic Empire, which was the Sith Empire. That is such a fertile ground for it. Basically, is exactly what the original trilogy is. You can just do it all over again.
And there's no risk
in a better way, and it's totally nuanced. It's like the people they're not just faceless stormtroopers and TIE pilots chasing you down. They're like actual Sith warriors and stuff. It's a total different
monsters aesthetic. Or like just terrifying. And very different aesthetic. And there's no risk in it because we already know where we end up, right? Like you can't break the world because we know it ends in the Skywalker saga. So it's like, just tell it. It's also thousands of years before. It doesn't
thousands of years.
Easy to tell. It is also wild to me with the rule of two. Like, how have you not? I know they did it in the old EU, but isn't that the most compelling story of just like someone has to be there, like, let's discuss how we got to the rule of two? Like, why aren't you talking?
It's almost like Andor. You know where it ends, right? You end with two Sith Lords, and what does that mean, and why did it happen that way? And let's not do the Battle of Ruusan and this Darth Khan. Let's not do any of that. Let's erase all of that and redo it and tell a really beautiful story about why there's a rule of two. You don't need any of that junk.
I mean, not that it's junk. Carpathion's great, but
no, yeah. I mean, it's not junk. It's just
So
to me, it's not. It's
not junk, but junk in terms of like baggage and mass.
I know. It's extracurricular. Yeah, I mean, this brings me back to this thought I had as soon as you started talking about this, which is just like, there's definitely rails, there's definitely pushback, there's definitely sacred cows that you can't do, and it's tighter for some people than others based on like where you are in the timeline. If you're in a busy part of the timeline, you got a narrow scope. I mean, and then
it's also I can't think of a visionary who wants to explore this space. Like, what filmmaker is out there who actually read these books and cares about that space? I don't think there's any.
That's exactly my second point. Is like, how much of it is the roadblocks, and how much of it is just people don't have the knowledge of the legacy that. I mean, even the legacy stuff may not be canon anymore, but it exists, and it exists in a really exciting, fun way. And people like Kasdan's son, Larry Kasdan's son, and Filoni know that, and Leslie Headland know it. And
Leslie Headland was actually the first creative in a while that I was like, I think she's read all the EU books, and I feel like she's game to maybe. And I was like, I think Acolyte's a proof of concept that she could go back and do the Genesis Wars. 100%.
Well, the other thing is, I don't know if you need someone that well versed in Star Wars, because if you're good as a story group, you have a list of like 10 projects, and you bring in a creative, and a creative looks at that and goes, Sith, rule of 2. Tell me more about that. And then that person reads all the books. Like, that's how Marvel does it. That's how a lot of the places do it, is they school themselves, right? If they choose a topic and they think they have a take on it, they can start doing that.
I wonder if it's too wildly different, then it'll be Wrath of Khan sort of.
It's so funny because when I do hear, I hear Pablo talk about stuff sometimes, it sounds like they want to serve the filmmaker and the storyteller first and foremost, and just after they've sort of presented some sort of idea, then help them fill in the gap and stuff like that, which I almost think it should be the inverse, like what you're talking about, Adam. It should be like, we have that project. We've been waiting for someone to latch onto that. And if you want to do it, like you're saying, Adam, that's how they should do it. But I don't think they do that. I think they're slow with it. They're very slow moving with that.
They want people to come in with a fully formed pitch.
Yes. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
because I don't think that's the right decision.
They should have 20 different film writers, like screenwriters writing right now.
It's making that list of 20 things, because I want to make that list of 20
the stories,
possible projects that could be made that are ready.
Okay, we're doing that. We're doing it. Yeah.
Definitely. And not everything's going to get picked up, but like, you should have 20 screenwriters writing things that they connect with, and some are going to make it and some aren't, as opposed to like, this person came in, we're bending over backwards to make this pitch of a movie. Like, that scares me. Like, I'm looking forward to the Starfighter film, but it also kind of scares me that like, this person just came in and it's just like, this is what
that's what's kind of insane to me, is like, someone comes in, they want to do a Starfighter movie. Sure, that's going to look great on IMAX screens. Is that the impetus to make the movie?
Right.
I guess it's going to make $1 billion.
I think it is, but like, unfortunately.
It's like, it's like, it gets back to the commerciality of it all. And I don't know if that's, Star Wars meant a lot to a lot of people. And I almost think like, it should stay meaningful instead of trying to cash in.
Well,
I worry about that.
I will say, I feel the same way about this right now as I do before I watched Andor. Before I watched Solo, before I watched Rogue One. Like, I was just like, what is this thing? How could this possibly be good? And in every case, I was blown away, and I was like, oh, they did something I didn't expect. It was great.
I'm always happy to be proven wrong.
I'm hopeful that they've got an ace in the hole, and like, that's how it got fast tracked.
But I think it will be. I think it will be "quote unquote" successful.
It'll be good.
It'll be fun.
Will it be 1977 Star Wars? No, because nothing will ever be 1977 Star Wars.
Andor was.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really, because 77 Star Wars is.
It was its own thing. It was just its own thing in the universe. Like, I think stop chasing A New Hope. Just stop it. Like, you're never going to do it. Like
you never will.
Never going to happen.
At the same time, I don't. I would like to see something more groundbreaking than what we get usually, which is, it's quote unquote successful. Like, it will make money. It has the Star Wars brand name in front of it. It will make money. we'll have constant debates, and someone during our debate will say, well, you know, it made money, so it's successful. So end of debate, it was good.
Oh, it's good.
And it was good because it made money. Yeah. And I just think that's like the death of actual artistic debate and
peak capitalism. It's good. It's good for everything. Peak capitalism is really good for art. Really good. It makes good art. It's just great things.
Yeah. And so I couldn't argue the opposite more. And I feel like it's kind of sad when you get to the point in a discussion where it's like, well, it made a lot of money, therefore it is good. And I'm like, well, that's not true in my opinion, because I didn't think the lore was expanded in a way that felt meaningful and interesting and added a new context to anything. And I thought the story was sort of redundant or predictable or whatever it is, like tropey or safe, or sort of echoing the beats we've seen before, or just borrowing from old cinema and just throwing the same stuff you've seen before in front of you. And it's hard to get 77 Star Wars again, but it'd be nice if someone like Kinberg can get there. If Simon Kinberg can give us maybe that feeling that we got when we saw the original trilogy, that would be really special. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. No.
It's got to be in the spirit, right? Like, it can't be the same story. They've done that. Like, JJ did that, and it was, I mean, you could try it a different way and that'd be cool, but it's like, Andor, it was like the galaxy's established. We know what it looks like. We know what it feels like. He put us in there in a very familiar time period and told a different story that wasn't like a classic Star Wars story. And it was just a lovely film put in the right space. And I don't know, that's, there's no formula, right? But you can't do that. You can just put a great story in the Star Wars galaxy and it's still a great story. But
Andor's not quote unquote capitalistic success, right? The first season didn't. It is obviously, but like the first season didn't get a huge viewership.
It's nothing like
that's some of the lowest.
To me, it is a massive success artistically. Like, so
and
like, where are we?
Kathy will die on the hill. Is like, we need to make this,
and I think it proved out, because I think the second season, I'm guessing the viewership is way up in the second season.
They marketed it so much better than the first season. They went crazy on that.
That's the stuff we're missing, right? Is like same thing, but that's the same thing when we talk about something like The Acolyte, is like just trust in the quality increasing and the quality bringing viewership, right, along with it. But it doesn't happen. The thing I'll say about Andor, it is a very different storytelling technique than any other Star Wars before. But the reason why it works is, again, I truly think it hits all 7 of the pillars that we talked about, right? Like, it does that. Like, he knows, Tony Gilroy knows you have to hit all of these in some way to make it a Star Wars. And that's why it's still, even though it's very unique and a very unique thing in Star Wars, it still feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right, let's list those again. I want to list these pillars again just one more time, just to refresh the listener.
Okay. You want me to do it?
Yeah, let's just close out with a nice listing of what we think are the pillars of a Star Wars story.
All right. So whether you're listening to this in 2025 or later, these are the 7 pillars, and we will refer to them regularly. Number 1, the hero's journey. Number 2, the Force. Number 3, ensemble casts. Number 4, wars in the stars. Number 5, galactic diversity. Number 6, master and apprentice, legacy and family. And number 7, honor what came before, presage what comes after, and always expand. Which is what we did at the end of that episode. And Adam, I think you put that addendum on there, and it's very that's super important to me. You like the Star Wars galaxy should always be getting better. I want it to feel not nearly infinite, like like, and this thing's happening, and like and there's a planet like this, and that expansion is key. You're battling, no excuse not to make the world bigger every time.
You're battling against legacy. Legacy is important, but if you're too focused on it and you're not expanding, it's good enough. Like, those are two things that are somewhat competing, and you got to do both in that perfect balance. Yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, happy 100th Cantina Chronicles. Thanks very much for listening to us on this podcast. And we can't wait to talk to you next week for what will essentially be our 401st podcast, which is wild. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week on Cantina Chronicles.